Today I wanted to share with you a few ideas for some creative flower photography, and you just need a couple of pieces of gear, but nothing major. So let's get started. So for my camera today, I'll just be using the EM10 Mark II as usual, and then I have my 40-150 kit lens together with the 10mm extension tube or macro extension tube. And this does have the electrical contact, so I will be able to do autofocus. And it gives me a lot closer to the flower, because a lot of these flowers, they're about the size of my thumbnail. And also I'll be using a K&F ND filter. I think this will go up to 4 stops. I forget exactly, but as always, I have, links in the show notes of all the gear I'll be using. And then finally, or not finally, I'm going to be using my Godox TT350, but any manual flash will do, because we're going to be using this in full manual at full power only, so we don't have to get creative and do a lot of test shots, with different power settings and everything. Just put your flash at full power and you should be okay if it's this flash. If it's a more powerful flash, you might try half power, but we're not going to be fussing with exposure too much. And then also, I had this little flashlight in my car. It's just a little $10 work light that I keep with me in the car in case I need to change a flat tire or anything. But what I like about this is that it has the multiple row of LEDs here, and that'll give us some really neat effects when we get started. And that's it for gear. So let me go ahead and get set up, and I'll show you the settings we'll be using. Okay, so let me show you the settings I'll be using. First, let's see, I had some settings here from before, but first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into manual mode, like so that we can get into the live composite. And I think the newer Olympuses, the Mark IIIs, you go in through some other menu to get there, but just get into live composite mode. And then turn your ISO all the way down to lowest you can get, ISO low in this case. And I do have my white balance set to flash because we're going to be popping the flash. And I'm going to have vivid on just to bring the colors out more, plus the sharpness and the contrast all up to +2 here and here. And you just rotate the front dial to set those. I also have the gradation set down to low because I really like the contrast the low gradation setting brings us. And I'm going to turn off the face detect. Single point autofocus, with manual focus doesn't matter. We're not going to be manual focusing, but we can leave it right there. And I can change the spot metering to center weighted because we're not shooting exactly at center, so I'm just going to do center weighted. And then for the shutter, I'll be using the anti-shock mode. And then as always, I'll be shooting with large superfine plus raw. All right, so let's tap the menu button first. And we want to make sure, because I'm in daylight, I want to make sure that the composite setting is set to half-second exposure, because that's the longest shutter speed or the fastest shutter speed we can use in live composite. And even with that, the EV meter is reading 0. And I want to get the EV meter to read a -3. So the only thing I can do at this point, because I can't speed up the shutter any higher, and we have the ISO down to low, so the only thing left is the aperture. So let's crank that up, and I'm just going to rotate the front dial until I see right around -2 to -3. But I'm going to go all the way until I see -3 is staying pretty solid. It's not changing. Now, if you're in a shaded area, and it's best to do this in the shaded area if you can. I mean, if you're doing this in broad daylight, it's a lot harder. I mean, you really try to find a shaded spot. I mean, it's kind of like trying to light a match on the beach. It just, why fight it? Just go somewhere that's a little easier, right? So now we're blinking -3, we're at -3, so we're right there. All right, so now I have the shot set up, and it's saying I need to push the shutter button once to get the composite started. And some Olympus cameras are skipping this step. It just goes right to the starting to take the composite picture. But on EM10, I have to just do just a quick shot to capture the current ambient exposure. And now it's ready for the composite shooting. And at this point, I can actually focus, and let me just go in and double check the focus point. It's right there on the flower, which I like. If it wasn't, I could just move it around right now if I needed to, but I don't need to. So let's go ahead and start the live composite. Oh, it's brightened up a little bit. Let me increase the aperture because I'm watching the EV meter. So let me bring it up to f14. Let's do f16. There. It just started blinking at f16, which is good. And we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do, and you can see it's almost black, but you can still see the flowers a little bit, is I'm just going to put this flash maybe about 8 inches away from the flowers and just do a quick pop onto it right about there. Yeah, perfect. So we have a nice black background. Now all I need to do is turn on my little light here. And I want to turn on the row of lights on the front. And I'm just going to run this behind the flowers, like so. There we go. I like that. That looks pretty good. And that's good enough. We can stop it here. But a very, very simple technique to kind of add some, give you some creative choices in your flower photography. Okay, now I was looking at these flowers up here. I really like how the sun is hitting them. And I don't know if you can see. So if the sun stays out, I think this will make a nice shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get a different angle on these flowers. And I'm going to reattach my little coat hanger here to hold them steady as I can. And yeah, I kind of like that right there. Now, you'll notice the EV meter has gone to -2, so I've lost, or I've gained a lot of light by pointing up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase my aperture again. I have to go all the way to f22, and that's with the ND filter on too, so that gives you some idea how bright it is. I'm gonna have to wait for this breeze. Even with the little coat hanger trick, a good breeze, especially for tall flowers, will take it out of frame. This can be tricky sometimes. Check the focus point again. All right. Let's get a shot there, and we'll do one more. Okay, so I popped a little bit underneath just to bring in some of the detail of the stems. I think that looks really nice. Let's do one more. So I'm going to zoom in and out real quick until I get it pretty much in focus. Adjust my focus point. Adjust my f-stop until f3 stops blinking, right about there. And then I'm going to go over one at f16 and get started. And we'll just give it one quick pop with the flash. Lovely. And then add the light. Let's try and do a couple swooshes. There's a quick one for a light streak. We'll do this one a little bit slower. Okay, good. And then let's get one from the bottom up. Bit crazy there. Let's do one more to cover this other flower. Good. And we'll stop there. Oh yeah, one other really important piece of gear for doing macro work is having a little stool to sit on. It scrunches up nice and small, And I carry this with me everywhere if I'm going to be doing flower photography. Just like so.